Our life here on land is dependent on how we live during our time. Our survival relies heavily on how we interact with our natural environment and everything surrounding us. Coming to you from the banks of Mushandike Dam in Masvingo, this is Sustain for Future Generations, a show where we discuss sustainable ideas as well as all the things that help us to live a better and more sustainable life. The natural environment provides vast resources which we need in order to live and survive, hence the name Mother Nature. From water, trees, as well as the air that we breathe, all these things are critical for us to live properly and for us to live better. However, we need to take good care of all these natural resources. And on today's show, we want to look at the people that are involved in taking care of our natural environment, from the animals, the water bodies, as well as the trees around us. This is Sustain for Future Generations.
Zimbabwe is endowed with abundant natural resources and is known for its diverse landscapes, ranging from savannas to mountains and unique water bodies across the country. Zimbabwe is renowned for its rich biodiversity and diverse wildlife, making it a prime destination for safari enthusiasts, as it offers a chance to witness majestic animals in their natural habitat. Conservation of these natural resources is crucial to ensure the protection of the country's wildlife and to maintain the ecological balance within the national parks and reserves. Having vast natural resources brings about numerous benefits for the country, including but not limited to tourism revenue, cultural and educational value, economic opportunities, recreation and well-being, climate regulation, and inspirational value. I embarked on a journey through Masvingo province in the southeastern region of Zimbabwe to witness firsthand some of the invaluable natural resources. During this expedition, I had the unique opportunity to engage with students undergoing training to become stewards of our wildlife and national parks, gaining insights into their dedication and conservation efforts.
Welcome back to Sustain, a show where we discuss sustainable ideas. And now, joining me on the show is Clive. I'm enjoying today's show because we are interacting with future wildlife conservationists. Clive, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
It's okay, thank you.
All right. Now, can you tell us a backstory, like where are you from, where did you grow up, which schools did you attend before you ended up studying what you are studying, and then you also tell us a bit about what you're studying.
Okay, I come from Midlands. I come from Chiundura. It's a rural area. So I'm from a humble background. I learned at farm school. So I just grew up with a dream of conserving wildlife. Like, I love nature. So this place is a place which allows me to express my passion for nature. So I'm happy I found this place. It allows me to express my love for nature.
The Zimbabwe Institute of Wildlife Conservation was established in 1981 to offer training in various areas of wildlife conservation. It is the only college in Zimbabwe that is located within a sanctuary, hence offers students with hands-on experience and a typical safari environment. During my time in Masvingo, I visited the institute and participated in some of their studies so as to get an appreciation of what it takes to enter the wildlife conservation profession.
All right, so now that after you found a place where you can express your passion for wildlife, what are you studying in the wildlife sector?
I'm doing wildlife and fisheries management.
All right, now take us through your studies and maybe your college experience. What are some of the areas that you have gained interest in so far, and how far have you gone in your studies, how many years, and what's left now?
Okay, wildlife management is a course. It's both practical and theoretical training. So on the theoretical training, like we learn, we gain a lot of education on how to conserve our wildlife heritage for the use of future generations. And on the practical training, we are trained how to enforce laws, how to conserve practically. So I'm doing national certificate. National certificate is it lasts for 1 year. Like it's a course for which you study for 1 year. Then I'm thinking of proceeding to degree program.
Let's talk about the future now. You've done your certificate, you go to the degree program. Where do you see yourself, like career-wise? What's your plan?
My bigger plan is to participate, to keep on participating in the conservation field. Like I would want to start something like my own conservation estate, like a conservance or something like that. If I might fail, I would want to do something small, like fish farming, like just a project of conserving the wildlife heritage.
And then concerning our environment, these days we live in the world of climate change. It has become the new norm. Yes. What role do you see yourself playing in also protecting and preserving just the environment, apart from your direct work that you'll be doing?
Yeah, there are so many threats, but with possible actions, I would love to participate in the conserving of our ecosystem. But I would love to participate in any way possible, if resources permit. Yes.
All right. And then maybe your word out there. I know there are some young people who are still maybe about to choose a career. Yes. Before we finish our conversation, what word of advice would you give them, maybe in terms of options? Because maybe people think of the big institutions, these big popular degrees and programs. This is something maybe that's not so common with all the other youths. What's your word of advice, maybe inviting them also into the wildlife conservation sector?
I think other careers, you will be mainly focusing on yourself. But wildlife management allows you to preserve the heritage for the future generations. Like if you do another program, you'll be just doing for the sake of your own generation of income. But if you preserve wildlife, it's for those who are not born yet, for those who will be there in the future.
Yes. Right. No, thank you so much. That is very wonderful and insightful. I've been talking to Clive, and on today's show, we've been discussing different experiences from students who are studying wildlife and conservation here at the Zimbabwe Institute of Wildlife Conservation. You're still watching Sustain. Stay tuned for more for future generations. Still watching Sustain for future generations, and on today's show we are discussing wildlife conservation, particularly the training aspect and why it is important. Joining me now on the show is Lee Chigutsa. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
We've been touring this awesome place, but you've been here for 4 years now?
This is the 5th year.
This is the 5th year. Tell us more about your experience. What happens here? Like, what are the highlights as someone who's been living in a wildlife sanctuary for 5 years?
I think basically I would call it my home. I think I now know this place more than I do home because I would spend most of the time here. It's that one place that is life-changing. When you come here, the mentality that you have is totally different than when you go back outside. starting from the training, well, I did my NC year, that was 2019, up to now.
That's your national certificate?
My national certificate. Up to now doing the degree program. I would say it was one hell of a time. I remember we had 4 guys who had to quit because it was not that easy. But then the hardness part of it now makes it interesting because you get to learn a lot of various things. I remember with previous principal we used to have, it was like I wouldn't want that scenario or situation whereby a student of mine would go home and then sit without doing anything. So you would push us into doing physical activities. You would push us into doing activities that are helpful outside. I remember in 2019 we used to do crocodile farming as well as bird feeding, especially these ducks that you see in the water. We used to feed them. So we wanted to create such a scenario whereby we are able to lure them, so yet tourists would come and see. It was actually a learning process for us.
But as you were doing this, what kind of results did you get together with your team at that time? Or also in terms of experience, how was that experience for you?
I would say it was a one-worthy experience because for the crocodiles, we learned how to capture the crocodiles, how to breed the crocodiles. So for now, any member of the crew that we used to have, if you were to ask them on crocodile capturing, they wouldn't hesitate because it was an experience that we got. Then in terms of bird viewing, we also learned how to lure birds. So if I'm to be given a small portion that I would practice, maybe that I would set a camping site, I would be able to lure birds if that is they are found there, because it's the experience that is now within us.
And now talking about all this experience, why is it important, especially for society, for the environment, for Mother Nature? Why is your experience particularly useful?
Wildlife is more of in a setup that is it's an ecosystem, meaning to say we're surrounded by communities. So every decision that you make, you have to cater for the surrounding communities. So if I'm to be given a chance, I would like to work with the surrounding communities. Well, develop projects. Well, there are so many projects that you can do. I had all my colleagues have been mentioning about the fisheries, but then you can also do bees, you can also do even birds keeping. It's some of the aspects that you can do in help with the communities. We can even set a site, given the chance, which involves local communities. So in that way, they get to benefit financially as well as socially, because wildlife is also refreshing and relaxing. So apart from financial benefits, you get that relaxing mode from wildlife. So that's taking wildlife to the community.
As we were touring this place, we had the opportunity to tour with you in particular the fish breeding process, and we also got to feed some of the fish and all that. I know you were saying your colleagues are talking about fish, but that fascinated me quite a bit. Tell me more about that process. How does the fish end up in the water right until we catch it and we eat it? Yeah, what exactly do you do?
So we have 2 processes here. Firstly, the first one, we buy fingerlings. Then we breed them. I'm sure you saw the ponds that we have. Most of them are sex reversed, meaning to say they do not breed. So we just feed them up until they grow, and then we sell them. The other one is we get inside the dam. Then we practice gill netting. Sometimes we get to catch the fingerlings straight from the dam because we want non-reversed breed. Then we keep them in our ponds.
And in the dam, is it that's a process where those 2 guys...
I also partake in that process. Yes. Okay. So after that, then we get to breed the fingerlings. Then as for the community, we give fingerlings for free to the communities. Any individuals who come up and say that they have got their own pond, we give assistance in the construction of that pond, be it from site setting up to the construction stage. Then if they are in need of fingerlings, we give them for free. That's now the benefit to the community. Now, considering that combined fisheries is becoming something which is worldwide recognized, would want our commuters to venture into that. It's not that expensive, considering that most people and commuters they do poultry, they also do piggery, so they can make use of that waste into feeding their fish.
Earlier when we were speaking, you spoke about the other two guys who dropped because of the physical activity. Maybe that brings me to my last question now, to talk about you as a woman. How has it been being a woman working in such a difficult environment?
To be honest, it hasn't been easy. But then as you go through the paramilitary training, you instilled that mentality whereby there is no gender in paramilitary. There is no gender if you choose this path as your career. Why? Because the statement whereby what a man can do, a woman can do, now applies there. So you tell yourself that there are women in the industry already. How do they do it? How do they make it? So as long as they did not quit and they are where they are today, for me, it keeps me driving. It keeps me going.
And then in closing, your word to young women, girls who are also seeking a career path and maybe are not yet decided.
I would say it's not too late. You can still make a career path. Well, even if you don't want to stay in the bondo, that is in the wild, you can still be social ecologist. You can still help out. There is to link humans as well as wildlife. So it's actually an interesting path to take. It's an interesting course to do.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, and also for inspiring other young girls who may be interested in following this career path. Now, the most important thing about this particular career path is that you are working for the greater good of Mother Nature, because you're looking at conservation, at wildlife, and sustainable use of our natural resources. You're still watching Sustain for future generations. Stay tuned for more. You're still watching Sustain for future generations. Now, on today's show, I had the opportunity to tour Zimbabwe's premium institution for conservation and wildlife training here in Masvingo. It has been fun seeing what they do here, but more interesting for me is to have conversations with students who are here so that we can get to feel their experiences and also discuss what their contribution is going to be in terms of conservation and wildlife. Now, joining me on the show today is Buhle Stole. Where are you from? What's your background? How did you end up here?
Buhle is from Bulawayo, all the way from Bulawayo. Right. I'm someone who loves nature. All along, I've always dreamt of being someone who tell people and know more about wildlife. So that thing, Yakuti, I always wanted to know more about wildlife. Watch Net Geo, so I just wanted to see if I come here, will it be different?
Okay. And then how did you get to know such an institution? I mean, we are down here in Masvingo, in a hidden place.
Social media. Yeah. I told you, Kuti, I love wildlife. I love nature. So Facebook, I saw their adverts on Facebook, and then I did this course LPH. So at some point in time where I started LPH, finally
LPH ngeyani?
It's learner professional hunters. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the last station now we study LPH.
All right.
So that's when I discovered this place. Yeah.
And so far to discover this place, how is it? How are you finding it? How is the training so far? How far have you gone in training?
Yeah, it's interesting because you get to experience more, because you are in the field, you are in the sanctuary where you get to see the animals. Yeah.
So tell me about what you've seen so far, maybe some of the physical experiences you've had. What have you done hands-on since you've come here?
Right, in here we've got the eland section there. In eland section we've got the sebos that are kept in captivity. So for research purposes, we get to go there, to see the sebos, how are they fed, the lucerne that is here. So we get to take the lucerne, sebos. So hands-on, I've seen the sebos on hand. And then you have also seen, I think, the warthogs.
Yeah. Now, as you go through your studies, what are you planning? What's next after this? ubuhle siyambona ngaphi in the next few years as a graduate?
Okay, the biggest dream is to own a private conservancy, owning something of my own, and then keeping the rare endangered species that are going extinct in Zimbabwe. Maybe doing that way, maybe I can try to conserve some species in Zimbabwe that are going extinct.
Just speaking now from a point of view of you as a lady, maybe this industry dealing with wildlife, it's scary stuff. How is it for you? How has it been for you as a lady? Even maybe your friends, your family, how are they taking it, knowing that you're dealing with guns, poachers, but more particularly with wildlife and a dangerous environment?
Yeah, it's risky, but at some point in time you have to take the risk if you love the thing. So I'm okay with it.
You're okay with it. And then just in closing now, your word to girls who are watching, maybe who still would like to make a career choice and may be interested in what you are doing, what would you say to them?
I think this is the best course to choose. Not only could you go to the forest or to the wild, sometimes you can be in the office. So they can choose this course. It's more hands-on. Since it's wildlife and fisheries management, you can do fisheries programs, you can do fisheries projects. Besides only being in the bush or only being in the wild, you can do your projects related to fish. Okay.
Right, and definitely in line with the new education curriculum where students are encouraged to be more hands-on, this is definitely the route to go. Thank you so much, Buhle, for sharing your story. It has been awesome and amazing, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. All right, you're still watching Sustain, and coming up I'm going to be talking to yet another student as we delve deeper into the life of wildlife conservers in training. Stay tuned. Joining me in this particular segment is my brother Felix. Welcome to the show. Takakurira kupi before tazopinda into studying wildlife conservation and fisheries?
Ndakurira kuMandarweni. Then ndakazoya Marari ndakazopinda basa kuVic Force. Ndakazoshanda seSarenja for 14 years. Then ndakazodecide kuya kuno kuchikoro kuti ndivandudze ruzivo rwangu so that ndizokwanisa kuweka na-entrepreneur ndikwanisa kuchengeta hove, then ndikwanisa kuita education and awareness so that ndochengetedza ma species anenge kuda kufesa extinction kuma fish species kana ma animal species nekushare ruzivo kuvanhu.
Alright. Imimi sevanhu vari kutraina munyaya dze-fisheries ne-wildlife, ndeipi role overall yamuchazoplayawo yamuchazenge muchiplaya mu-environment maererano nekuchengetedzawo nharaunda yedu kuti igoramba iripo for future generations?
Aiso role hombe yatichaplaya mukuchengetedza zviwanikwa, tichadzidzisa vanhu maererano nekurimwa kwehove zvine chimanje manje mukati, zvasiyana nezvatangoita kudhara kuti vanhu vaigona kungoita yatinoti capture fishing kuti vanongonobata vasingade kuwandudza. Then tichadzidzisawo vanhu nezvepollution kuti vasapollute nzvimbo nokuti pane dzimwe mhando dzefishi dzinenge dzisingade kana mvura yakasviba.
Tiri kutarisira kuzoita sei ramangwana tapedza chikoro?
Ramangwana tapedza chikoro ndinotarisira kuti inini ndichaita efarmer, but efarmer wangu nesinga specialize nechinhu one. Ndokwanisa kurima chibage, then ndarima chibage ndochengeta huku, then pahuku kana nguruve, then zvinenge zvichibva munguruve zvatitageza tichifunza kuti iwaste tozvishandisa sechikafu chefish, then ndoemploy vanhu vakawanda ipapo. Uyezve ndichafambawo ndichipa ruzivo kune vanhu vari disadvantage, kuno mwana vasingakwanisi kuya kunodzidza kuno kwasingakwanisi kuwana mafees, kune vamwe vanhu vanenge vasitorina vabereki, then kana kutoenda kunzvimbo yanei ndakakurira kana kune dzimwe nzvimbo dziri disadvantaged ndoenda ndonopawo ruzivo rwanoenda nepandinokwanisa kuti vakwanise kutanga small business kuti vanotanga nemafish pond madiki kusvika vazokwanisa kukurawo kana kuti vazowana mari dzokuti vakwanise kuenda pavanokwanisa kuwana ruzivo rwokuti vanokwanisa kuenderera mberi.
Lovely. Thank you so much, my brother Felix, for sharing your story.
Now, based on the conversations held with students at this prestigious institute, it is clear that the future of our wildlife resources is in safe hands. Their passion for conservation, coupled with their innovative ideas and dedication, heralds a promising era for the protection and flourishing of Zimbabwe's rich biodiversity. Together, they stand as stewards of nature, ready to embark on a journey that ensures the harmonious coexistence of all living beings for generations to come. Now, until the next episode, goodbye.